Hey, folks, and welcome back to Glenn and Adrian's Rock Talk. This is part 3 of our Genesis dissection. And we're now putting together Spotify playlists for each episode. Look for that in the description below. All right, here we go from And Then There Were Three on. This is the album that came after, aptly titled And Then There Were Three. Because Steve Hackett had left. Steve Hackett, by the way, in case you don't know, was the lead guitar player. I should have mentioned that. And he's also the guy that pioneered finger tapping, which is what Eddie Van Halen got famous for, refining, you know.
Yep.
And this is a record that it gets maligned. I don't think everybody likes it so much. I like it. I think it's got a lot of really great stuff on it. I think side one is pretty much flawless. Down and Out, Undertow, Ballad.
I like Down and Out and the Ballad of Big Jim, is it, or something like that?
Ballad of, they just call it Ballad of Big, but yeah, it's Big Jim, you know. So
the three big songs from that album, to me anyway, are Down and Out, Ballad of Big, and The Lady Lies. I remember that song. I used to listen to that a lot.
Yeah, that is a standout track too. The Lady Lies. I fully agree. Actually, the last three songs on side two, I think, are really solid. The Say It's All Right, Joe, which goes from kind of a rambling narrative into a driving chorus.
Oh, I didn't know it was on that album. I've heard the song title before. I thought it was from one of their later albums.
No, it's on this one. It's third from last. That one to Lady Lies, and then Follow You, Follow Me.
Oh,
which was a substantial.
And that was their big hit song from that album.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a stitching of song. I mean, it's not a collection. It's not a concept record or anything. And frankly, they probably could have dropped a track or two and still had just an even stronger record. This is another one of those that's like 55 minutes long or something. They probably could have dropped Deep in the Mother Lode. I don't know. It's kind of hard to call. I mean, they're all pretty good. Anyway.
I should listen to that record more often.
That's nice. It's nice.
Give it a fair chance.
So the one after that, they toured that record and then they stopped for a while. And I think Phil was having a divorce, and I think that trying to extricate himself from that divorce took a couple of years. And these are critical years in the Genesis era, but they got back together and recorded this, Duke. So this is a fantastic record, I think. This hangs together. It's a concept album. I think it's a stronger album than There Were Three, just overall. And it's probably their last really strong album, in my opinion, that just as the group Genesis that we love from kind of the earlier times. This is just before they were really hitting it big on the pop charts, and yet they did have some hits on here, like Misunderstanding is on here. That's the one for those that needed, but this album, pretty much top to bottom, is a great record, I think. I mean, there's nothing on here that I don't like. It's all just a really nice listen. It's lengthy. It's another 50+ minute record. It took me a while to warm up to this one. I didn't really warm up to this until probably the 90s or something. I mean, it was a few years. This was kind of the last one.
Some of the songs on there, but I should probably listen to that one more too. There's, I don't think I remember all the songs from that one, but I remember a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is instrumental and really good instrumental stuff. This is a really good song. Man of Our Time.
Travels, is that on there?
Duke's Travels is on here. Yep, that's really good.
I remember that one as being good.
Yeah. Oh, definitely a worthwhile record. Yeah, for sure. I like these early records of the three, the threesome Genesis. They get to
Abacab was my first Genesis album. The first Genesis album I owned was Abacab.
This may very well be your copy, as a matter of fact.
No, that's Duke.
Oh, I'm sorry. Which one were you saying?
I was talking about Abacab.
Oh, Abacab. Okay.
Just
Yeah, no, I wanted to mention one other thing about Duke. This is the first album where you start hearing Linn drums, when you start hearing drum machines on Genesis albums. It's on this. Yeah, I mean, you start hearing, it's in the background, you start hearing it. And, you get to Abacab here, and I mean, there's a lot of just the drum machines going on. Like that's Man on the Corner has a lot of that. There's a few,
they probably have some songs where they did the drum machine and then they put some real drums on top of it or something.
That's right. That
Yeah.
that is what they did on this record. Yes. Yes. And there's some good stuff on here. I think that some of it is kind of filler. Abacab, it's a really good track, but the last half of the song is really, I mean, to me, it just kind of sounds like a tossed off jam. Like
Yeah.
they're just kind of wasting time. Like they're maybe trying to get something to happen, but it doesn't really happen. There's some interesting things in there.
Yeah, yeah, there's some interesting moments in that song.
Yeah, but it kind of feels like they could have used the space more wisely somehow or another. What do I know, though? I mean,
I agree.
they're the ones that have sold millions of records. So,
Yeah.
so Abacab was a hit.
Mhm.
No Reply at All was a huge hit, and that had the Earth, Wind, and Fire horns.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
remember that. That inspired Phil to use the horns in his solo albums.
oh yeah, yeah, which ended up being a really good move on his part.
Yeah,
That's right. It's worth mentioning it. I don't have it, but around this same time, Phil's first solo album dropped, and that one has "In the Air Tonight" on it, which is
face value.
yeah, yeah, arguably one of his most memorable hits is "In the Air Tonight." And in fact, it just had a resurgence on the internet. Somebody was reacting to it. And if you go search YouTube, you'll find reaction channels everywhere now. It's a big fad. I think it's a good one. It gets people to listen to older music and realize what they're missing out on.
Yeah,
But, you know, but somebody did one for "In the Air Tonight," and all of a sudden it was back on the charts on iTunes, and it made Phil Collins, some nice pocket change. Probably made, I think we tried to figure it out. It was like $10,000 or $15,000 was likely in royalties from streaming, for the thing going up so high and becoming. It may have even gone. I don't know how big it got, but it might have gone top 10 even, which would be kind of ridiculous if you hear what's going top 10 these days. You wouldn't expect that one. But this is worth having. So Adrian, you became more of a Phil Collins fan than I was at the time, and I did recognize
around 85, 87, something like that. It was around 87, actually. I just started listening to No Jacket Required. I don't even know why I did it. I just sort of developed an interest in that,
Yeah.
I bought No Jacket Required. Then I bought So by Peter Gabriel, and I was listening to these hits.
Oh yeah, really? That's right. Yeah, they were both having a big, they were both doing well around 86. And
Yeah.
I mean, all of Phil's records were big hits in the 80s. I mean, big hits.
Yeah.
He became bigger than Genesis. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And I've been revisiting a lot of that stuff because it turns out that one of my favorite bass players, Lee Sklar, plays with Phil on No Jacket Required and Hello, I Must Be Going. I believe he plays the majority of bass tracks on both those records. And then went on tour. He's been on tour many, many times since then with Phil. So that kind of gave me pause I think back then, as a
I think
teen.
I remember seeing Leland Sklar in the Susudio video.
Yeah, that's
playing
right.
bass.
That's right. He was the bass player on
The
Susudio.
guy with the big beard playing bass.
Yep. The big wizard looking guy, Now the beard's all white. Lee has his own channel on YouTube, and I highly recommend it. Just look for Leland Sklar, LelandSklar. And he's got some great stories from touring with Phil and with others. So that came out, Abacab. And then, of course, they went on tour again. They put out an EP in England. It didn't come out in the United States. However, it did wind up on the fourth side of Three Sides Live.
The American release. I hear that the European release or the English release actually has a fourth side of live music, including songs like One for the Vine and The Fountain of Salmacis.
Yes, what happened was I think eventually the band really didn't want those songs on this album anymore. So I actually had to special order this CD to get the same stuff that was on this on a CD in CD format because they discontinued it. And then they put on those songs that you mentioned, Adrian, and expanded the record a bit. So that would have been fun to have back then. But honestly, I kind of liked the songs that were on side 4.
Yeah.
Now, it includes Phil Collins' least favorite song, which is Me and Virgil.
I remember the song.
Yeah.
Washing dishes and making coffee is like one of the verses.
Yeah, he later revealed in an interview in the aughts, the 2000s, that that was their attempt to sound like the band. I don't know how much you know about the band, but they did The Night That Drove Old Dixie Down and The Weight. They're an Americana kind of sounding group, but they were one of the first to sound that way. In 1968 is when their first record came out, Music from Big Pink.
Were they with Bob Dylan?
They did play with Bob Dylan, yeah, before they had their record contract. Yeah, they were the band when Dylan was annoying all the folk crowds with rock music. He would come out with a rock band and they'd all start booing, you know. You ask them later why they were doing that, and a lot of them didn't really know. I thought I was supposed to do that. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, that was that band. So it didn't really work out. I mean, Genesis, I don't know. It's hard for Genesis to sound like the band, I think. But I love the band too. But
probably hard for them to sound like anybody else but Genesis. I mean, they've got their own sound, and
yeah, they really do.
They should use it.
No question.
They're very skilled in what they do, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so
doing that since they were 20 years old, and it's like
earlier.
And do something like Trespass. I mean, you got to be really focused if you're 20 years old and doing Trespass.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, people in their 20s and late teens. I mean, a lot of great art gets made by people when they're that age. There's been a lot of things. I mean, like the early Yes albums, those guys were pretty young for like Roundabout, and I think they were pretty young. Maybe not that young, but yeah, I mean, if you're putting out Foxtrot at age 21, that's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly my point.
So this came next. This is the Eponymous Genesis album from 1983. And I gave this a listen the other day, and at the time I thought it was okay, but it was also the last time I bought a Genesis album, or it was as late as I went with the band for, well, pretty much that was it. Yeah, that was it. This is as late as I ever went until very recently, and we'll get to that. This came out, I wasn't as impressed. It had Mama, which I thought was kind of an interesting song. I mean, I liked the drive of the song, but that little that he does, that hasn't aged well.
That's what it's supposed to be. He was trying to imitate Grandmaster Flash, I think.
Oh,
he had done that on an album, and Phil was inspired by it, so he did it on that album.
Well, listening to it now, it just nah. It didn't really work. So that song's okay. Thing about this record, before I even go any further, is I think pretty much the entire record is the Lynn drums. I don't know that Phil Collins sat down and played a drum kit for this record. I tried listening for one. It's possible that he did, but I don't know. And I don't think he did for Invisible Touch. I think that's entirely Lynn drums. I could be wrong.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
More on his singing, I guess, on that one.
Yeah. Well, for me, that was kind of, I mean, I noticed that. And I said, wait a minute, Phil Collins is one of the world's best drummers, you know, or he's awfully good. Why is he using drum machines? And so that was kind of a letdown. The hit on this was That's All. Pretty big hit, but it's kind of a, you know, it's one of those songs I could take or leave, you know, but it was a big hit.
Taking It All Too Hard, I think, was another one.
That might have been a hit.
Kind of Get Better. That was one I heard on the radio a lot.
Yeah, that actually is my favorite song on this. It's Gonna Get Better. It's the last song because it's got really interesting things going on musically.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah, it does. It's a very interesting song. I think my favorite song from that album, I don't know why, but it's Silver Rainbow. I just like that song.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting one too. I mean, they were still getting really good ideas for pop songs, you know, and they were putting them together. But overall, this album just hasn't stood up well for me. One song they have on here that doesn't work anymore and you couldn't release today is Illegal Alien.
Right.
Where they even made a video and it got some airplay and everything, but that wouldn't fly today. It was a parody. It was supposed to be funny, but now with the hindsight, you know, of 2021,
things have happened more recently than that album.
Yeah. I mean, I understand they only played it during this tour and that was it. And I think since then they just kind of tried to. I think it was actually on one of the live albums too, as a snippet, you know, but they didn't play it as a full song again after 1983, which I think was a solid move. So for me, that was the end of it for a long time. Now here we are in 2021 and about 2019 or so. I mean, I started collecting albums again about 3 years ago, and I ordered something. I don't remember what it was, but this showed up inside the package, and it was actually used just as packing material. Guy just threw it in there as something to keep the real record that I bought in good shape, you know, like and keep it from bending. So it was a free album. I've gotten like 3 records that way that are not bad. But I thought, okay, well, I've got this, and I finally got around to listening to it, you know, critically, and I think this is actually a step up from the previous record, the Genesis record. I think this is much stronger musically. Most of the songs are pretty catchy. I don't really
like side 2 for some reason.
You like side 2?
Yeah, the Domino.
Domino is pretty interesting. I've heard that one described as the last like epic track they ever did. Honestly, well, what was your take on that?
Well, I thought it was a nice song. I was at the time when I had that album, I was really literally trying to get into more pop music, and
Okay.
you know, I did hear some good music that way. You know, I heard some good songs, but I don't know. I just thought I should learn more about pop music so maybe I could create it myself, but I'm no longer interested in doing that. So,
well, you know, to be fair, that was kind of our household too, because I know that at the same time, that's what Dad was doing. It's funny, you know, our dad, we'd go visit him on weekends, and he'd have the new Cyndi Lauper record, and we go, oh, like She's So Outrageous, you know, that would be he'd buy it, and we go, oh, I had no idea you liked that stuff, Dad. And he's like, no, I'm doing my research for pop market
production.
yeah, exactly. And he, you know, we'd walk in there and he'd have like the new Europe album, and I'd say, no, Dad, no,
you New Europe.
It's if they were a pop power metal band, you know, from Europe, and you know, with big hair and the whole smoke and lights, and they were okay.
I think I had
Final Countdown. That was their song, The Final Countdown, and I can't even play it. I don't remember what the riff was, but there's No, it's, yeah, and it's probably been used by professional wrestling or something. This is a better record than the other one. And I don't know. You have to kind of like the pop direction that they're going in, and then you're home free. Great album. But again, my complaints on this is there's no real drums on here. You know, it's not Genesis for me. It's just not. Like Domino is okay, but I don't consider it an epic. On the other hand, the pop songs that are on here are excellent. Like Throwing It All Away is really a masterpiece.
Oh, that's on that album?
Yeah. All right. So I think maybe we've covered everything that I can talk about. I know they made a couple records after. In fact, you were wondering if they'd made 3 records or 2 records after Invisible Touch. So let me see if I can work that out right now. It looks to me like they've only made 2.
Okay, We Can't Dance and
Yep.
Calling All Stations.
Yeah, We Can't Dance.
Without Phil Collins.
That's right. That's right. We Can't Dance, I don't know much about, aside from the fact that it had some more big hits on it. It was a big selling album. It did not interest me in the least at the time. I was going in a completely different direction at that point.
Kind of the same here.
Yeah, I was, yeah. So they did that. They had a very, very successful tour, put out 2 live albums, The Way We Walk, the shorts and the longs. So they had all the hit songs, the little hit pop songs on one, and then they had all the epics on the other. I think Phil Collins really stopped playing drums in about the early 80s. And yeah, he played them here and there, and he guested on everybody's records, like Robert Plant. And I mean, he got around.
He's got his son playing drums now, I think. What is it?
That's very possible. Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Nick Collins or something like that. Is that his name?
Maybe, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, and I don't want to give you the wrong info.
Yeah. Okay.
So the other one was Calling All Stations, which got panned by everybody. Everybody said, no, 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 this is not going to work. And the vocalist was Ray Wilson. Seemed like a very nice guy. Nothing against him personally. It's just that, you know, when you're trying to replace Phil Collins in Genesis, you might have a bit of a hard time.
Yeah.
You know, some of the fans. I think that, you know, that situation could have been spotted a mile away. I don't think I could do a top 10 for you, but I think everything Duke and backwards is really good. You pretty much can't go wrong until you hit that first album. And of course, Trespass, they're still kind of getting their footing, but I thought it was a pretty entertaining record.
I think Trespass is my favorite Genesis record.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of great stuff.
It just gets better as you go farther back.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, so that's it for us. Thank you for joining us, and we hope we've inspired you to go listen to some early Genesis. You know, if that happens, then, you know, our job is complete. So, so with that, we'll just say good night and peace. Take care, folks. Oh, and if you have other ideas, leave them below, because we need them, and we'd love to do them for you. All right, take care.